Welcome back to the Lead Lamp podcast. This week, we're going to talk about AI and some misconceptions and how it affects people's jobs. So this week, we have Ben and Tyler on the show. We're just going to kind of banter back and forth about how we use AI, how we see AI affecting the workplace, and maybe shrinking the market a little bit, but also making it a little bit more competitive for some smaller businesses. So let's just dig right into it. I think we're going to kick off our first topic of kind of the hype you hear around AI.
Yep.
And now that we've been using it, what we experience with AI compared to what we've heard either via the news or via people that don't use AI, that they just think it's a certain way, but it's really not that way.
Yeah. Just a first bit of news. Just yesterday, they announced, and by they I mean Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, that they are limiting or shutting down free accounts. So I'm curious. Luckily, I know Ben and I have a premium account. Yeah. I know Taylor and I were trying to do some avatars yesterday, and she couldn't do it. But so I was able to plug away on the premium account. But even the premium was having some issues. So that's a big threshold. And the reason they did that is because with the most recent advancements, and maybe some of the stuff Ben and I will mention too, they've had such a flood of traffic to the website with announcing the GPT marketplace eventually, and allowing you to create your own GPT avatars and more use cases. We can talk more about that then.
Their servers are overloaded.
Yeah.
I mean, even as a premium user, I can't always log in.
No, it's true.
Yeah, even though they give us preference as the elite GPT users. So
I'm just a peasant.
Yeah,
with my free account. But no, so we've heard a lot of, I know I have, whether you watch the news or just, I know, talking to people that aren't in our industry that don't use AI.
It's a hot topic.
They might even be using AI, but they don't realize what they're interacting with is a AI model.
Yep.
There's a lot of hype that goes around it, and let's kind of talk about real quick what people think AI is and what we're actually interacting with and what it actually is.
Yeah. So AI is artificial intelligence, if you didn't know, and GPT is not technically an AI. I mean, Sam Altman has said that, but it's a large language model, LLM.
It's a huge library.
Yeah, it basically predicts, it knows the English language because it's studied the internet, which has the English language on it. So it can take all that data that it's been crawling for, years,
decades,
over decades of knowledge, or centuries of knowledge that's all present on the internet. And it's able to compile that and in a database. And then when you ask it something, it'll guess what you want based on its knowledge of the English language, the way you phrase the question, similar to what Google does, but just in a more chat-friendly way. So the chat feature that we all know and love at this point, 100 million users downloaded it. It broke records for the first app to hit 100 million that quickly. I think TikTok had the record previously.
Yep.
But we all love it because it's able to interact with us. That's what's kind of revolutionary about ChatGPT.
It's more human-like.
So Google does all of that I just described, but this has that large language model built into it so that it's able to say, oh, Brett wants this because he phrased the question this way. So here you go. And, oh, you have a question about that? Why don't you ask me? And you can tweak your search query. You can tweak your answers. So that's where it gets to the revolutionary part. So far, those language models or those huge algorithms have not been able to communicate in the English language.
It works better with the way that normal people would communicate. Back and forth with a computer. When you would typically search with Google or any search engine from the past that's in the graveyard of old search engines, you would search just for on Google, for instance, you would search, how would I change the alternator in my car? But Google is kind of a cold way of delivering the search results. It's very robotic feeling. So it's delivering you very cold results.
It's just data, pure data.
It's data.
It's like a computer.
But when you
like a human.
interact with one of these chat-based GPTs, basically, is you can ask it, hey, I need help changing the alternator in my car. And it'll spit out the best answer it can from the query that you gave it. But then you can rephrase it and say, oh no, I need it explained to me in this for this model. Can you rephrase it? And then you can hit enter again and it'll spit out a similar answer, but it'll refine what it's giving you. When inside of Google search or anything in the past with other search engines, it's just going to give you the most
The top 10 results.
the top 10 basic results of what you see.
Top 1 million, but whoever goes.
But it's not in a conversation mode. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not going to give you instructions on it. It's just going to give you links.
Yeah.
The GPT has a human touch, which gives the illusion of artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
Right.
But it's the same thing you've been using your whole life,
Mhm.
practically.
But I think the hype with that is it can scare people.
Yeah.
'Cause
It
they're
feels like something different or new or more grandiose, but
I mean, it is different in the sense that we've never had this human touch
Mhm.
available to us. I'm sure some of these Fortune 500 companies have this
Yeah.
technology already.
Yeah.
What was that
But-
first one that came out a couple years ago? It was Watson.
well, that's what
was
I
gonna
was
say,
just thinking
Deep
about
Blue's
that the other
another
day watching Jeopardy last night. Like IBM Watson went on Jeopardy and crushed. It did a great
Right.
job. And I was thinking about that on my commute. Actually, ironically enough, today, Watson was around for a while. Like that was.
I remember seeing the Super Bowl ads for it.
Yeah.
Like,
It wasn't available to you and I, though.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
On this level.
you had to have a huge budget for it.
Yeah.
It's just like computers used to be. Now we have the personal computer. It's all
Yep.
history. As far as the big computers in the big room, you have to have a huge budget.
And even then, there was still
Just
hype
scaling it
about. There was still some fear and some hype about those technologies when they were newer
Mhm.
being implemented
Disruptive.
and disrupting.
Yeah.
The way that things currently were. So I think it's just
Yeah.
the same evolution of
Mhm.
new technology.
Yeah.
There's fear. There's hype with any of these things. That are
Some
new when they
warranted,
roll
some
out.
not. I mean,
Yes.
look at like my best example on the top of my head is Uber. You know, it destroyed the taxi industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's what Silicon Valley loves to do. That's
Mhm.
their whole shtick. You know, ever since Steve Jobs came to the scene, it's disrupt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's revolutionizing, hopefully in a good way.
Yeah.
Right.
There's obviously a lot of downsides that come
Mhm.
with that. Every time, you know, people will lose jobs.
And
But,
they're not always seen right away.
Yeah.
and so some people are scared for good reasons. A lot of people are scared because there's misinformation. But
Yep.
at the end of the day, some people win, some people lose, but I think we all win.
I think that
Yeah.
goes into our next topic. There is AI, just like any of these other technologies of the past, is a good tool,
Right.
but it's not a replacement for people. Specifically, I mean, people that are doing jobs that are more manual labor or task-based blue collar jobs. Those are not jobs that really you need to worry about AI affecting.
Mhm.
And I will say, you know, there's always the fear of like, oh, well, there's going to be the fully integrated AI restaurant. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. In 30
Yeah.
years, there'll be the entire computer run restaurant.
Yeah.
Give it
But-
5.
But what it comes down to is businesses still need people to buy their products.
Mhm.
And if so many jobs are replaced by computers that are building these products, no one's going to have any money to buy their products. So you're still going to have to be able to employ
Yeah.
people to have an economy to run these things. There's still that interaction that AI can't replace or a computer can't replace.
I think it's a complicated thing because yes and no. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people's jobs will be replaced, just like you know, in the past, so many people's jobs. You know, you don't see the pencil pusher the way you do today.
Yeah.
No,
Just the person with the filing cabinets and going through all the different files.
it's shifted.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, where it took 10 people to do a job, now it takes one on
Yeah.
a computer,
Mhm.
right? So in that same way, I think a lot of these things will just be shifted to a smaller group of people,
Mhm.
but at the same time, other jobs that don't exist today will now.
That's
Yeah.
what I was going to say. There's a
So,
shift in
Some people will lose their jobs. But you
Yeah.
have to adapt. That's the
Yes.
real point.
they'll
here.
lose their job in their current setting, but
Mhm.
there'll be 10 other jobs that open up because we don't know what we don't know right now.
Right.
And with every evolution of these technologies, there's a moment in a business or a company where they go, oh, shoot, like we need someone to help manage this now.
Yep.
And now there's new positions that are created. I think of the positions you see now
Mhm.
on the job marketplace that even 15 years ago when I was coming out of school, like those were, you would have never even heard of that kind of job before.
Your job,
No, I
Yeah.
think
SEO.
yeah, I was gonna say SEO is going to be affected
non-existent.
in some way or another. The other one we see a lot, and I think Ben and I have talked about before, prompt engineers. So like knowing how
Yeah.
to properly prompt the GPT or
Training.
these AIs and doing that. So like, yes, there are going to be a certain percentage or fraction of jobs lost, but there's also going to be jobs gained, as you kind of mentioned.
Yeah.
But also like, hey, adapting, learning with that. The technology is going to only evolve. So learning now, getting in early is only going to benefit you, especially if you still have some years in the workforce.
Mhm.
If you're close to retirement, you know, is it worth it? I don't know. You'll probably interact with it some way or another. Maybe even in your old age, to give you company. I always think about that too with elderly people in homes, that engagement. We heard the stories during COVID. Like it'll be cool to see some of the positive stuff, that the opportunities that aren't even there yet, that we don't talk about as much,
Mhm.
to see those jobs where maybe they're not as glamorous jobs. So an AI can step in there and take care of a certain industry or market, the possibilities are endless. So it'll be cool to see how it evolves over time.
Yeah, I think of data entry.
Yes.
That's something. It's a huge job market, but that's going to go away very quickly because I can put in with this new update, I can put in a CSV file, which is a comma separated value file, and it will do whatever I want with it. So I could put that in another file, combine these two. That's somebody's job. That's just went away.
But then now you're going to have to open up a whole new realm of other positions that need
troubleshooting,
training and troubleshoot how to interpret and input that data.
Right.
So there's always going to be where there's
still I need to know what to do with it.
Where the fall off of older, more manual jobs are. There's going to be a creation of new jobs because there'll be new problems that are discovered that aren't they're not there right now.
Yeah.
So I think of it, like I said, it's more of a tool, not a replacement of people, because you're still going to always have to have people.
Some people.
Yeah.
But then those people,
they need to adapt.
Yeah, they'll just have to adapt, and that's just the way it's been for every evolution of any technology.
Yeah. Yep.
So think of the old phone board, the phone switch operators. They
I will say,
had to find a new way to adapt to that technology.
I will say this is the hard part though, because you had a good 5, 10, 20, 30 years between technology shifts.
Yeah.
Now they're happening within 6 months.
Yeah.
Like ChatGPT came out to the general public less than a year ago.
Yeah.
I was one of the early adopters, and that's insane because I'm never an early adopter for anything.
Yeah.
But I saw a podcast, Jordan Peterson said something about it. He said, this is going to revolutionize the world.
Yeah.
And he's a smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. And he talked about how he used it to write another step for the
12 steps.
12 steps. He said write a 13th step in his style, and he did.
Nice.
And he was like, that's amazing. This is revolutionizing the world. I stayed up till like 1 that morning because I was blown away that this thing was available to us. I signed up for it immediately.
Tapping away.
Yeah, and I was just like, this is going to change the world. And I told my wife she couldn't care less. She's like, oh, technology, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I was so bent out of shape about just how this was going to revolutionize everything. And here we are, 6 months later, and it's already gone through like 4 updates that every time doubled it or tripled the value of it.
Yes.
Back then, like 6 months ago, you had
back in the Stone Age.
Yeah, you can only give it like a paragraph of text. Now you can give it just ebook, and it'll do what it wants with
Except if you don't pay for it.
Right.
Yeah. Like me. So, and I think that,
but it's happening so quickly, I think is my point.
Let's talk about that then, how it's taking things from where we were just talking about routine tasks, and it's automating a lot of routine tasks for people. We were just talking about that. Actually, we should have recorded this podcast before we started recording this podcast, because Ben and I had a conversation about taking routine tasks and automating them, but then you're still going to have somebody on staff or yourself doing those specialized tasks of interpreting that data or having it run things for you that you normally would do in an hour manually. It would take you 30 seconds to do it with AI. Some of the things we've already actually been talking about are things that we already use that we don't even realize are AI that are doing specialized tasks for us, but routine tasks for us, but you still need somebody there on the other side of the screen to look at that data, interpret that data, and actually make useful decisions or actions from the data that AI is giving you. So
apply it somehow.
Right. So
smart way.
Where AI won't replace is Tyler's doing some SEO reports. Ben, you guys were talking about doing some competitive research for SEO and rankings with some of our brands, and interpreting that data is something that you're going to get the data back and realize, like, hey, here's 4 action items that I need to do now.
What do I do with that?
To help myself or to help a brand that we're working with. That's something that AI can't do. It's just regurgitating that data back to you, and you're still responsible for reading that.
Yeah, we got to take action on those steps it's recommending. So.
Another thing we were talking about, that we've been interacting with AI longer than we thought we've been interacting with AI. Yep. So we use a SEMrush or a SEMrush. Those are all intelligence-based tools that are taking in data, interpreting it, and telling you, hey, here's some problems on your website that you should fix, or here's 3 areas that are opportunities for growth for your website. And when it's telling you those things, you still need a human on the other side of the screen to look at that and go, okay, well, there's 100 errors that's coming up with on my audit, my site audit, but I know my platform, and those 3 things really aren't errors. It's just showing up because it's hitting this algorithm that's red flagging these things on my website. Ben's seen those too before, where it might think it's a problem on your website, but there's really it's an application on your website, or it's a type of script you're running that
There's a tool to say ignore, so
you can't get around it. But yeah, you still need to have that human on the other side going, okay, well, this isn't a problem. I need to train that AI to know to ignore that in the future.
Yeah. Here's what I think of the analogy of the internet being a superhighway. Have you heard that?
Mhm.
That's an older way of looking at the internet back in the day.
Back when you had
early 2000s.
AOL.
Yeah. So that's what I think somebody coined, superhighway. But, for like a real highway, you see it and you go, well, all it did was create more opportunities for more people, because now a truck driver can get from point A to point B and make money that way. Rather than being able to go 10 miles, he's able to go 500. And you and I are able to commute to work half-hour away instead of
10 minutes.
2 minutes down the road, which would take you half-hour in a buggy or whatever. So it's just maybe the same half hour is going to get you longer. I guess you get more value over time. So when you talk about the internet being a superhighway, like there are just more exits now off that highway. So the more data you have, the more information that's presented to you, the more options. It creates another problem, which is filtering that out.
Yeah.
And so that's where you and I come in, is we're able to take that data and filter out the good stuff and get rid of all the rest, because large data is just data. It's nothing. It's just
still a pile of
old data.
Right.
So what do I do with that? What does the business owner do with that? That's where the rubber meets the road. Is, okay, great. You have a SEMrush. It tells you your rankings for the last 2 years for all your keywords. What do you do with that?
Yeah.
How do I translate that into this barbershop making money?
And it's also only
that's where it gets really difficult. And that's where the specialized text comes in. So I don't have to go and look at every Google search for every keyword now, routine task. But to know what to do with all of those results is the specialized text that you cannot replace.
And it's also only as good as the input you put into it.
Exactly.
So if you're telling SEMrush or even any new in the future AI tool for SEO,
And what keywords?
Hey, I want to rank this local shop for, I want to track these keywords. Well, it's going to go on the assumption that you want to, that your business is going to thrive ranking for these keywords. But in reality, what you're inputting into it might be awful to rank for. There might be other opportunities that it's just not looking at. And it doesn't know, because it's only as good as you're shoveling into it. So it's input in, input out. And there's still going to be some of them are getting better at thinking about it. So you can put your competitor sites in and they might say, hey, your competitor down the street, they're ranking for this and you aren't ranking for this, or they're getting a lot of traffic for X. You should talk about that as well.
Twitter?
But it's still only as good as X.
Yeah, it gets confusing.
I just meant
He did that on purpose.
Yeah,
he just loves it.
I did.
No, Elon did that on purpose just to screw everybody up. Sorry, go ahead.
It's the
Disruption.
So the
Threw you off your.
you threw me way off now.
No.
But what I meant was like
Keyword gaps and
It's-
competition gaps. Yep.
but that
gotta know what
even
to put
that
in.
data is still only as good as the input. And if your competitors have kind of the same mindset as you, you could still be missing some things. So it still takes that human ingenuity to like be inventive and be creative. It's I don't think it's going to replace the ingenuity of the human brain,
Because everybody else has the
in
same
any
technology.
industry.
Yeah.
I mean, all your competitors are using the same tech, or at
Tools,
least
right.
it's available to them. It's like an arms race, really.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if everybody has this genius level technology at their fingertips, well, then that becomes the new base level.
Yep.
You know what
Well,
I
and
mean?
then-
So you just have to specialize a little more than them to get that niche to know exactly what to get.
And the outlier then becomes, okay, everyone has this technology, and this happens in every industry, in every business. If everyone has this technology now,
Available.
like think about when everyone was able to create a Facebook business page.
Oh yeah.
And then all you saw on your Facebook timeline was business ads and business and all these interactions. And then Facebook changed, they moved the goalposts.
Yep.
So then it was based on interaction, how much it would show, you know, they've changed the algorithm. So then it becomes who utilizes, if everyone has the same playing field, who becomes smarter on that playing field and is better using those tools.
And if
So
you
it's
don't
always-
use those tools, you're way left behind.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So if people aren't using AI right now,
yeah.
6 months ago, like yesterday, then you're just behind.
Yeah. You got 6 months to learn it to catch up to where most people are if they started early adopters.
And it's not a matter of liking or not. It's just have to.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you cannot use it and be fine.
Yeah,
sure.
right.
But if you want to hit that next level where your competitors are, because they're using it. Let's just be honest.
It goes back to our next kind of our next bullet point, from routine tasks to specialized tasks, and then making sure you're adding that layer in if you're in an industry that is able to utilize it, which most probably are, if you're online at least, is using AI to enhance what you're doing and speed up your processes or make more wise decisions based on the data that it's giving back to you. So using AI to enhance your job, not replace your job. So finding ways to use AI within your job role can be very simple. It's once you get on, and Ben's probably done this, I know Tyler's probably done this, I have. Once you start using it, you'll start to see and interact with it and go, oh, wow, I could probably do this with it. And then now things that you normally were doing or your boss was asking you to do that took you half a day to do or an hour to do, you can speed it up and do it in 5 minutes. It still might take you might get this thing back and have to polish it a little bit, but it's removing a lot of that manual input from it. So it's becoming a job enhancement tool, not just a job replacement tool.
People keep saying 10x. I don't think it's 10x. I mean, that's hard to quantify, but triple, possibly, But I was going to make the point that, Tyler back in the day would have, 40 hours a week to do X amount of work, but it would only equal managing maybe 2 or 3 websites, right?
Yeah.
Now you can manage 15. So that's the difference. It's just, it gives the individual more bandwidth.
Right.
And so Brett can hire 2 of Tyler to do that job, whereas before he would have to hire 20.
Yes.
So all it does is free you up to do other things. And so with that free time, you're able to grow the business, which is able to do more.
Yep.
So it's
or focus on other tasks,
additional tasks.
So you could say, hey, I'm going to automate these 10 things I used to do for now 15 websites. But what that's going to let me do is, and when I say automate, it's not on autopilot completely. You're still adjusting and improving. But what it's going to let you do is go, okay, well, there's this one problem over here on this one site. They're having a big, they're hemorrhaging leads. They're just not converting. So then rather than worrying about all these remedial tasks, you can then say, let's focus on this problem here and really fix that and fine tune these processes versus like having your whole day consumed with just running reports and ranking reports.
Yeah, the one tool I've grown to love AI for specifically is content creation, ideation, coming up with topics, or even just giving it the prompt. So I'm using SEMrush to come up with queries that people are asking. It doesn't always have to be the high search volume, low competition. Some of them are going to be high search volume, high competition.
But it gets you in the game.
But in my previous job, I had to manage 5 e-commerce brands. That's 5 blogs a month. At some point we had to hire out, and then eventually that gentleman knew, like, why am I not getting the volume? Is because it correlated around the time the AI came out, and I was able to very tactically with the SEO tools that I used at the previous job, Ahrefs, and just really streamline that. And I was able to do somewhat of a task that gave me stress and anxiety. And I was able to manage that within less than a week's time, hammer out 5 new pieces of blog content, very SEO optimized, keyword optimized, all that stuff. And it was just a game changer. So, even tying into what we said before, it's a tool that adds to you. It wasn't taking away or replacing me. I still had to be there.
It was enhancing.
It was enhancing. It was a tool in my toolkit to make me more efficient.
You can focus on what you want to focus on, not what you have to.
Yes.
And then, let me ask the next part of that. So and this fits into our last topic pretty well, when you are running that content through and you're generating content in that, whatever industry you're in, I know industry you're in the past, but when it's coming back, there's still an important piece to make it readable and add that like personality or that human touch to it. That they're getting better at that. Like you can add, like you guys said earlier, you can assign some avatars now to your GPT chatbot or whatever you're using, but there's still going to be that piece that you talk about. You talk about your brand the way you talk about your brand, and I don't think that's going to be able to be replaced. Getting in and someone on the roof, but getting in and adding that flair that Tyler adds to that piece of content is still going to always be critical to create content that is captivating.
Yeah. There's so many times in regards to blog content, and we've talked about this before, it gets you 80, 90, 95% of the way there, but there's still stuff that it would put out there and you can tell, it's still just a language model.
Have you ever asked it to write a call to action? You're like, hey, finish up this article with a a call to action to contact our business. And it is like the worst written call. No matter how good you write the prompt, it's like the worst call to action you've ever read. And you're like, no one's going to respond to that. So you still need to create that enticing verbiage within whatever it's writing for you or doing for you that feels like a human is interacting.
So they're getting better and better with the UI, user interface. So I was just telling Brett before this in our conversation that you used to have to be a developer basically to develop what they call an API to connect the data to the language model that you want. You can really, as specific as you'd like, to get as focused as you like on data sets. So that's not crawling the entire internet. It's crawling, okay, I want you to read these 5 data sets. You can now do that manually. So that's one way to kind of get around this human touch error.
Could like a marketing manager who doesn't have development skills use some of these newer methods? Like you're talking about not having to be a developer. How would a normal marketing manager use a GPT model so without having to program?
Without giving away all my best tips and tricks. No, I think, I mean, you can find this widely available, but it just takes a minute to figure it out, to do it yourself. But your favorite ebook. You know, we just read a book. I won't say the name of it. StoryBrand. If you want to use that one and just put that in there and say, this is your parameters. You cannot go past this. Or you put in 3 of your favorite books, 3 of your favorite influencers, Jordan Peterson's, whatever writer you like, and give it examples of what the style is. I think that's one way to train your AI. And then it will at least get, maybe it's not 80% now, it's 90 or 95. And then you can tweak it from there. But that's one way to kind of, that's the prompt engineering aspect. This is a new job that's going to pop up. You know, I guarantee Fortune 500 companies are looking at the job market and going, okay, who specializes in working with AI? That is going to be a new job you see everywhere now. And just what I'm saying right now, they're going to get that, but get really granular with it. You know, I want to get this exact kind of language, this exact kind of data set. So we don't need to hire a team of 20. And that's sad for 20 people. But at the same time, that one guy has a new job that he can go spend, filter back into the economy. It gets complicated, but
then also
it all works out.
Where it trickles down, as you say,
it trickles down is all interesting.
It's sad for those 20 people temporarily until those 20 people also catch on. And now
there's a new job out there that wasn't there before.
And your example of the Fortune 500s was awesome, because they're going to start that. And then the next level, your large local companies, Hershey's, Hershey's a big one, but these other large local companies that are regionally big, they're going to need those people. And then which is smaller, local
cheaper
business
for them to get that access than it was before.
Right.
And smaller businesses.
In five more years, you're going to have the 1 or 2 location bigger local businesses that need it, and then so on and so forth. So those jobs will then open up where we didn't see them before.
Yes. And the beauty of all this is you and I, as a small company or whatever we are, have the same access to the technology that Walmart has.
For a low budget.
Like literally the same access. For zero. I mean, $20 a month. What is it? It's nothing. So, I mean, and it's new for everybody. You know, these executives are trying to figure it out. Now they can throw $1 million at it.
But they're racing just as fast to find out how to use it as the guy that has 10 employees.
So if you're getting into the game right now, if you're hearing this for the first time, you're not too late. Like there's so much fear missing it, and I understand that. There's like a lot of techno shocks. What they call
on the adoption curve. You're still on the uptrend.
We're all on the cutting edge of the internet. Let's be honest. It's only been around for not very long, so 20, 30 years. So it's not even like, even if you're on the internet right now, you think like you've missed it, but you haven't. You know, so if you're looking into AI right this moment, like you're in the cutting edge of the cutting edge. And so I think now is a great time to get in. Just start playing around with these things. I don't think you have to be overwhelmed by it, because it is easy to get overwhelmed. But if you can just focus on like one problem that you're having and then just make a solution with AI, it's going to change your life, because that's going to open up so many avenues for you didn't have before, because you don't have those budgets that those bigger companies do. Now, like I was going to say, they can throw $1 million at that and say, all right, marketing team, all right, web development team, make me one of these AIs that we're talking about and make it perfect to this specific task. So they can do that, and they have done that already. But you can do that too, is all I'm saying. It just might take a little longer. But you'll see the return on your.
But you could become a little bit more specialized with it too. So your big brands, whatever they are, retail, tech, whatever, they're going to be specialized in what solves their problem or a problem they see that's an opportunity. But you are so especially for smaller companies, you might be so entrenched in, I'll use plumbing as an example.
Yeah.
Plumbing industry. There might be a solution you see, whether it's for your customers or for your technicians as plumbers or whatever within your business. Say it's your call dispatching service. And you're like, oh man, like this is a big problem that the plumbing industry has for dispatching service techs to your call. Well, I'm going to start to develop an AI model for that and create a platform or a AI tool that dispatches people smarter to their location based on whatever. Yeah. So there's opportunities for these tools to take over pretty much any facet of an industry that just don't exist yet.
Yeah,
exactly.
But so you don't have to think that, like Ben said, you're behind the game because Walmart just solved some problem with it. Yeah. There's so many little things that people, and this is where I go back to, it takes the ingenuity of the human brain to let AI work for it, not take over.
AI will never, I mean, I don't want to say never, but
we could be back here in 10 years.
Not even.
It was never going to take over, but now there's a robot outside marching down the street.
Yeah. I mean, to my earlier point, like I use Visual Studio Code, which is a Microsoft product to develop code. And, 6 months ago, ChatGPT was brand new. And now they have a beta version, which I haven't had access to yet, but it lives within VS Code and it can manipulate data within your existing development environment. So that's revolutionary. It's going to be built into all your Microsoft Office suite. That's already coming out because Microsoft owns the largest share of OpenAI, if you didn't know already. So Excel, PowerPoint, Office, in the very near future, it's already in beta. You will have literal ChatGPT within your document. So you can ask it very document specific questions and you interact with it.
Which would be awesome for Excel and things like that, for writing formulas and complicated.
Yeah, you write me the formula and it'll do it. So that's just another way, like, 8 hours spent on something will now free me up to do other things that I want to do. Yeah. And I was going to say, I remember hearing recently that Netflix is looking for an AI developer for $900 million a year.
Wow.
Just to prove that this is catching on and it's the new normal.
Yep.
And people are afraid of that, obviously, because what does that mean? That means some actors will probably be replaced. That's what the whole strike is about, right?
It's pretty much,
If you get to the brass tacks of it, they don't want to replace the AI, which they have a point. Because right now they can take their likeness and use it forever, even after the dead.
Background actors be gone.
We've all seen like the Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian. He looks like he's 30. Even though the guy's like 50, 60. Yep. So yeah, it is definitely disruptive in more areas than just content. And we're just focusing on that. But we're talking, animation now. They can use AI.
And I think it just takes time for the
same principles apply.
It takes time for the dust to settle. So right now it's new, it's disruptive, as we've said. But as this tool gets implemented more and more, and the dust settles, and people starts to lose the allure of that big new scary thing. Like it'll settle out, things will shake out, and people will just become smarter with how they adopt it. Will jobs change? Yes. But will it shift? And then there's always the creation of new jobs where old ones fall off.
And authenticity will become even more valuable because what we're saying is
people still crave that.
Well, AI art, it's become so good and ubiquitous that I'm used to it now already. Right. I mean, it's only been a month.
You can pick it out.
Every thumbnail ever has an AI. I listen to a lot of YouTube music. They're all beautiful, like pristine. But now it's becoming so commonplace that it's no longer the allure they used to have.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I see a lot of ads on YouTube, as we all do, unknowingly, but it's the guy on his cell phone or his iPhone or whatever, just recording a video, and that's the new ad. I mean, why is that becoming a thing? Big marketing agencies are spending millions of dollars with a guy literally holding a selfie. It's because that authenticity factor is becoming the new kind of priceless thing to have. So in the land of AI, if you can use it 80% there and then add your own human touch, I think that is like the perfect synergy. Because I know one of the points we didn't get to today is the synergy between human. How does it aid humanity and not just kind of like replace it? So I think that's a huge factor to consider when we're talking about this. You cannot replace authenticity. So the more authentic you are, and you could still use AI, that doesn't mean you have to get rid of it and become Amish, But at the same time, if you can use it and go, all right, I'm going to get 80% there, and then basically do all that boring stuff, and then just add that little touch. That just
and that's what we talked about earlier with Tyler. You still have to. The example of, and we'll wrap up with this, is that call to action.
Mhm.
No
That's a
one,
good example.
whenever you ask AI, whenever I've asked AI so far to write
Mhm.
certain specific things that are very brand specific, or the
Mhm.
way we would talk to our customers, it still can't do that.
Mm-mm.
No matter how I prompt it.
Yep.
It can't write it as well as I would write it.
Yeah.
And it can't do an image rendering as well
Mhm.
as,
Yeah.
Nancy would create a graphic for
Yep.
us.
It still gets fingers weird.
Yeah. And faces
Or-
are still a little funky. Like the eyes.
Yeah.
And if you know how to manipulate pictures, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you
Photoshop,
should, right.
that's the synergy. Because I've
Yeah.
seen a lot of webinars about
Yeah.
that recently. It's
Yeah.
like, get me 80% there with the
Mhm.
beautiful landscape and everything. I'm going to make the fingers
Make
perfect.
somebody just
Right.
Yep.
So,
that still takes specialization. That still takes someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
so yeah.
Just an example.
Definitely. So we're still getting used to some of the new things with AI.
Mhm.
I think to wrap up, it's just like Ben said. Ben actually capped it off pretty well.
Yeah.
Just, using it
What'd I
to
say?
help synergy.
I
The
forgot
creating
what I said.
synergy.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were just
So
on a
that-
blind
that sounds
rant.
smart.
You,
Okay.
you just came back.
I went to AI mode.
Yeah.
I'm half AI.
Yeah.
I am a robot.
It was a Neuralink took over.
Yeah.
But
Mark Zuckerberg.
But yeah, so the I think finding
Threw you
a
off
way
again.
to just integrate it properly within your workplace, but then
Yep.
still
Yeah.
add that human touch,
Yep.
that authentic feel to it is
Mhm.
is great. Even with data, when you're interpreting SEO data
Yep.
or ranking data, you still need to interpret like, okay, well, it thinks I need to go for that, but that's really not where I
Yeah.
need to go. I need to shift.
Yep.
It just takes that human involvement to interpret it
People will
or
see
to
through it.
manipulate it. So
Yeah.
People will see through the fake the
Yeah.
AI
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But you're going to get more and more sensitive to it. I think people already are.
They
Oh, that's
already
AI
do.
written content.
Yeah.
So that's like the next topic, and maybe that's a good one to do next time. But how do you get just above that layer of like,
Yeah,
oh, this is
there's
obviously
tools out
AI
there.
to, oh, this is not AI. Even if it is
yeah.
80% there,
Yep.
Yeah.
they don't have to know that. So,
we will we can talk about that like next time
Cool
because
teaser.
Tyler's actually showing me some cool tools for that.
cool.
Yeah.
Teaser.
So-
Till next episode.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. If you are using AI, comment or send us an email or whatever, and just tell us how you're using AI or
Yeah.
how it's changed your business, whether it's marketing or not marketing. It could be any industry. See how we want to learn how you're using AI to change something that you're doing daily within your industry.
Yeah.
Either way, make sure you're subscribing, following. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Go to our website. You can send us an email. Until next time, we're gonna head out.
Have a good one.
Thanks.